In 2016, I was approached by a group of police officers. I call them corrupt police officers, whose names I already mentioned, and I'm going to mention them again. The likes of Rebi, she's a captain in the Hawks, Maritz, and a whole group of company, and a certain gentleman known as Captain Ngobeni, who eventually we realized that him alone was not a part and parcel of the Hawks, but he was their proxy who was being sent to solicit money from us. These did not hide their intentions through this Captain Ngobeni, but to speak that we had to pay 12 million rands if we had to stay in South Africa. And this was apparently known as protection fees. This issue became a very serious issue. It can be very important for me to actually remind some of you who remember at some point in time when I stood on pulpit and spoke about this, to say I was met by these police officers. They are saying they need money, and that today if I don't give them money, they'll come here at church and cause an arrest. And I said, I'm ready. And I even said, I'm not scared. We remember that moment when we were harassed at church with a police helicopter that came and flew at very below altitude level just to scare me. At the very same time, we had a police van at a church parked, and I think some of you remember. And all they were saying was so simple, to say, will you release the money or you are ready to be arrested? It was that single day when I took an initiative to go and meet the then Commissioner of Police, General Sitole. It was on a Sunday, and I had a meeting with him and at Southern Sun Hotel in Pretoria, where I raised the issue. In his speech, he advised us to beef up our security, citing that he is aware that in South Africa there is a serious cartel, and that if they don't get what they want, they may even assassinate us. However, he referred us to the Minister of Intelligence. Then his name was, or is, Minister Bongo, who I did not hesitate, because it was becoming more personal, to say, if you don't give us the money, we are going to do this. We resorted of meeting the minister, and we lodged a complaint to him. However, he called the Director of Intelligence, and if I may not be forgetting his name was called Fraser. We had a meeting, the three of us, and I explained the whole story, and Fraser spoke to me in front of the minister to say, so far, we do not have any case against you in the system. Meaning to say, this is all set up. And to my surprise, despite bringing all these serious allegations against these police officers, nothing was done, nothing was made. This scared me, because it became more even personal when I think some of you remember a person coming in church with a pistol. And several times when people would actually confess to say they were sent to shoot us. This was due to, after hearing that I had lodged a complaint against these four to the authorities, they said, you cannot make us lose our jobs. We'll eliminate you. Upon having that, I also saw it was necessary I report to my government in Malawi. I flew in Malawi. I met the then president, who is actually now, again, has been elected again to be the president. Congratulations to him. And I had a meeting with him, and I explained the whole issue. I remember he actually said that he was extremely touched and asked me to also, apart from the government efforts that would do, he also requested that I should involve the local Human Rights Commission. I did. The Human Rights Commission of Malawi that time went to the embassy, South African embassy, and lodged a complaint. And this is on records, to say our citizen is being harassed with his wife. And the embassy advised them to write the South African Human Rights Commission, which these two organizations began to interact over our rights. Nothing happened. And this made us also to take further steps, because the threats of our lives and the demand of money began to grow. It was in this moment when we were also visited, the threats of our lives and the demand of money began to grow. It was in this moment when we were also visited by one of the police officers, known as Mr. Paul. He was, I think, a Captain Paul, who said that the General of the Hawks, a department which these 4 police officers were coming from, would stop our case if we would give him something. I remember some of my team members going to have a meeting with this fellow general, known as General Sibiya. So much money was collected in the name of this general to stop this case. Instead of the general to stop the case, so it was corruption after another corruption. Problem, you go to the authorities, they also are demanding for something, to end something. I remember my team having a meeting with the then General of Hawks at his farm several times. Having meetings with him at his residence in Silverton several times. An attempt for our justice failed. It was then I decided to even take more steps further. I went to have a meeting with the Inspector General. There's an office in South Africa known as the Inspector General. The good part, we have affidavits from each office I'm mentioning to you that we visited, that we went to. We took the affidavits because we knew tomorrow was coming. The director in this office, when we went there, they welcomed us, and it's the office that helped us. They simply referred us to a department known as IPD, Independent Police Department, that investigates corrupt cops. We went into this office of the IPD, where we opened a case against these police officers who were harassing us. So an official police case was opened with a case number. However, the IP department assured us that they were planning, they had applied for a warrant from what is known as the National Prosecution Authority, NPA, where they would get some funds, some money, and give the money to us so that we should tell these police officers that the money was ready and that when they are coming to collect the money, the IPD should arrest them. A mission was planned that the following day, this must be done. But unfortunately, the day where this mission was supposed to be done, we think someone from the NPA had tipped them to say, tomorrow there's an arrest being planned for you. Unfortunately, the day we were supposed to arrest them, they came early in the morning, the same 4 police officers, to arrest us instead, citing so many things, including the private jet, which we actually bought. I actually bought that private jet, and it was not even bought in my personal name, but it was in the company, which was owned by myself and the shareholder, a South African. But shockingly, it wasn't my wife who was a fellow shareholder, but she's the one who was arrested together with myself. A case which stayed so many years. We went to court several times by the same people who were looking for the money. We went to court several times, and each time we went to the court, when the case is about to start, they would stand up and they say they are still looking for evidence. We are law-abiding citizens. We completely gave ourselves to the justice system of South Africa to say maybe there'll be justice. But the more we were waiting, the more our lives were seriously threatened. We're all aware what happened in our ministry, in our church